to get my back blown out in peace. You think I got time to talk about a divorce that's a year old?
When you hear about celebrities breaking up or having messy arguments, it's easy to feel detached, like it's all just another headline to scroll past. But sometimes a moment comes along that feels too raw to ignore, something so vulnerable that it almost feels wrong to watch. That's exactly what happened when a clip of Teyana Taylor sobbing uncontrollably while Aaron Pierre calmly recorded her started spreading all over the internet. People weren't just shocked by her tears. They were horrified by the idea that someone she trusted would stand there with a phone in her face instead of holding her hand. And once that video hit social media, there was no going back. The story didn't start with the camera rolling. It started long before that, with two people trying to build something out of the wreckage of old heartbreaks. Teyana had been struggling to move on from her split with Iman Shumpert. Everyone thought they were the couple that could weather anything. Cheating rumors, career pressures, all of it. But in the end, even their strong bond couldn't survive the constant strain. When they finally separated, Teyana told friends she just wanted peace, a chance to rediscover who she was without always worrying about appearances. That sounded noble, and maybe she meant it, but it didn't take long for Aaron to step into the empty space Iman left behind. Aaron was charming in a way that felt safe, at least at first. He wasn't an athlete with a reputation for partying. He wasn't trying to overshadow her career or pick fights over petty jealousy. He seemed like someone who could listen, someone who could help her heal. So when Teyana started spending more time with him, nobody was really surprised. People whispered that it was moving too fast, that she should have waited longer to start something new. But Teyana didn't care. For the first time in years, she felt like someone really saw her, not just her image. But the thing about moving on is that it doesn't always go the way you hope. Sometimes the past seeps into every new beginning, no matter how hard you try to keep it out. And in Teyana's case, the past wasn't just memories of Iman. It was the guilt of feeling like she'd failed her family, the fear that she was making another mistake, and the exhaustion of defending herself from people who seemed to enjoy picking her apart. As the weeks turned into months, the honeymoon phase with Aaron started to fade. They argued about small things, schedules, text messages from old friends, even how much time she spent with her daughter. But the arguments never felt small to Teyana. They felt like proof that she'd done everything wrong again. On the day the viral clip was recorded, Teyana and Aaron had already been fighting for hours. Nobody knows exactly what started it, but people close to them say it was about trust. Teyana had been feeling like Aaron wasn't fully honest with her, like he kept parts of himself hidden even while insisting she bear everything. And Aaron felt like Teyana was still emotionally tangled up with Iman, that she wasn't ready to give her whole heart to anyone else. They tried to talk it out in private, away from curious eyes. But sometimes, no amount of talking can fix what's already broken. That afternoon, Teyana sat slumped on the corner of a gray velvet couch in Aaron's living room. Her eyes were already red from crying, her shoulders drawn in like she was trying to make herself disappear. She was dressed simply, in black leggings and an oversized t-shirt, nothing like the glamorous outfits people were used to seeing her wear. She looked like any woman at the end of her rope. And maybe that's what made the clip so devastating to watch. She didn't look famous. She just looked hurt. Aaron stood a few feet away, holding up his phone, the screen glowing blue as he aimed it straight at her. His voice was steady, almost eerily calm, as he told her he needed to document everything for the record. Teyana shook her head, wiping at her wet cheeks, and whispered that she didn't want to be filmed. But Aaron didn't lower his hand. He said she'd been twisting the truth for too long and that he was tired of it. Teyana's mouth fell open, like she couldn't believe he was really doing this. She looked straight at the camera and begged him to stop. But he didn't. In the clip, her voice cracks when she says, "Please, Aaron, I'm not okay. I can't do this." Her hands tremble as she pulls her knees up to her chest, trying to shield herself from the lens that felt like it was burning straight through her. You can hear her daughter's voice faintly in the background, asking if mommy was sad again. And that was the moment that broke people's hearts, the reminder that there was a little girl in the next room, listening to everything unravel. Aaron kept recording. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't call her names. But he wouldn't put the phone down either. He told her people needed to see the truth, that everyone believed she was the victim when really, he was the one being manipulated. Teyana pressed her palms to her eyes, her shoulders shaking with sobs so deep they sounded like they were tearing something loose inside her. The camera stayed steady, capturing every single second. When the video leaked, nobody knew exactly how it got out. Some people say Aaron sent it to a friend as proof he wasn't the bad guy and that friend betrayed him. Others believe Aaron himself shared it to control the narrative before Teyana could speak first. Either way, it only took a few hours for the clip to explode across Twitter and Instagram. By nightfall, it was on every major gossip page, with headlines screaming about Teyana Taylor's breakdown and Aaron's cold detachment. Fans were furious. Comment sections filled with thousands of messages condemning Aaron for exploiting her pain. People called him cruel, narcissistic, and disgusting. Others said this was what emotional abuse looked like. Someone deliberately filming a person at their lowest instead of offering comfort. Some tried to defend Aaron, arguing that maybe he really did feel like he needed evidence in case she twisted the story later. But those voices were drowned out by a tidal wave of outrage and sympathy for Teyana. Teyana herself didn't post anything for almost a day. While the world dissected every frame of her humiliation, she stayed silent. Friends later said she was in shock, that she couldn't believe someone she'd let into her life could be so heartless. She reportedly spent that first night at her sister's house, too upset to sleep. Her daughter kept asking if everything was okay, and all Teyana could do was hug her tight and promise she was safe. When she finally broke her silence, she did it in the simplest way possible. A short, quiet statement posted to her Instagram story. She said she was devastated by the breach of trust, and that she never consented to being filmed. She thanked the people who reached out with love and reminded everyone that she was still a human being, even if it was easy to forget that when she was trending. She didn't mention Aaron's name once. But she didn't have to. Everyone knew. Aaron went live on Instagram hours later, trying to explain himself. He sat in a dimly lit room, his face drawn and tired. He said he never meant to hurt Teyana, that he was just trying to protect himself from lies that could destroy his career. He claimed she'd threatened to accuse him of things he didn't do, and he needed proof that she was unstable. But even as he spoke, people weren't buying it. The comments scrolled so fast they blurred, almost all of them calling him a coward for weaponizing her vulnerability. Meanwhile, Teyana's team released a statement clarifying that no legal action had been filed yet, but that she was exploring every option to ensure her privacy was respected going forward. Her closest friends rallied around her, sharing messages of support and reminding everyone how hard she'd worked to overcome years of scrutiny. It wasn't just fans who were upset. Several celebrities posted in solidarity, calling Aaron's behavior unacceptable and encouraging Teyana to stay strong. As the clip kept circulating, the conversation shifted from gossip to something deeper. People started talking about how often women are pushed past their breaking points behind closed doors, only to have their pain turned into content. Parenting experts weighed in, saying children who witness their parents in crisis often carry that trauma into adulthood. Mental health advocates pointed out that recording someone's breakdown without their consent could be a form of emotional abuse. And for once, it seemed like the public agreed. But while the internet debated, Teyana was left to pick up the pieces. She reportedly took time away from work commitments to focus on healing. Friends said she was considering therapy, not just for herself but to help her daughter process everything. Because no matter how strong you are, it's almost impossible to pretend everything is okay when millions of people have watched you fall apart. Behind the scenes, things were getting more complicated. Rumors started swirling that this wasn't the first time Aaron had filmed private moments without telling her. A few sources claimed he had other recordings and had threatened to leak them if she ever tried to expose him publicly. Teyana's camp didn't confirm or deny those claims, but the mere suggestion was enough to spark more outrage. Iman Shumpert may not have been in Teyana's life the way he once was, but some things never changed, like the way he felt about protecting his family. When news of the altercation broke and videos went viral, insiders say Iman reached out to Teyana quietly, not for attention or headlines, but to check on her and their daughter. He was livid, one source revealed. You could hear it in his voice. He wasn't just mad. He was heartbroken that Teyana had been humiliated like that in public. Despite their rocky history, the bond between them hadn't completely faded. Maybe they weren't lovers anymore, but they were still parents, still connected. However, not everyone bought the protective ex narrative. Some insiders claimed Iman's concern was less about Teyana and more about optics. He's got an image to maintain, another source said. This made him look weak, like he couldn't protect the mother of his child. That stung. Whatever the motive, the truth probably existed somewhere in the murky middle. Part anger, part guilt, part loyalty. Then, just as the storm seemed to settle, screenshots of text messages leaked. Aaron, clearly rattled, appeared to apologize to Teyana. I panicked, one message read. I didn't know how else to defend myself. I should have put the phone down. But the apology felt hollow. The internet had made up its mind. The damage wasn't just emotional, it was permanent, etched into public memory. And for Teyana, there was no going back. The clip had already become part of internet folklore. Another example of how easy it is to forget that celebrities are real people with real feelings. Teyana's tears had been replayed so many times. They were almost stripped of meaning. But for her, they were all too real. Every sob, every plea, every moment of feeling cornered by someone she thought she could trust. If there's any lesson in this story, maybe it's that we all need to be more careful with each other's hearts. That just because you have the power to expose someone doesn't mean you should. And that no amount of justification can erase the pain of betrayal. So next time you see someone trending for all the wrong reasons, take a moment to remember what it costs to be that vulnerable. Because behind every viral meltdown is a person trying to survive the fallout.